What's up guys, Jackson here, and in today's video I'm going to rate some of the top training montages in anime. I think it's kind of fun to just ask ourselves a question of like, what if this was real life, and how accurate perhaps is some of the training that these characters are doing. So without further ado, we kick things off with a training montage from early on in My Hero Academia. Let's get into it.
それはあれさ、君器じゃないもの。おっしゃってることが前と真逆。
I, for one, hated Midoriya at the start of MHA, and I think it almost led to me stopping watching the series. He just cried all the time, complained about everything.
私の個性、ワン・フォー・オールは、いわば何人もの極まりし身体能力が一つに収束されたもの。生半可な体では受け取りきれず。 獅子がもげ爆散してしまうんだ。本来ヒーローってのは奉仕活動。それが君のヒーローへの第一歩。そこでこいつ、私考案、目指せ合格アメリカンドリームプラン。
This is All Might's training program. All Might looking like a good life PT here.
他の人より何倍も頑張らないと。
It's actually a good comment by Midoriya because it applies to real life a lot of the time. We sometimes are not genetically gifted compared to other people. Some people, they can just look at a dumbbell and they're going to get jacked, or run a lap of the oval and then all of a sudden they've got crazy aerobic fitness. But sometimes we just don't get dealt a nice hand in the game of genetics. But I don't think that should deter us from trying to make the most with what we've got. If you work hard and are prepared to work harder than the people around you, then you can certainly make fantastic progressions in your physique or anything in life. Okay, so here we got some sled pulls of sorts and some tire carries. Good for building functional fitness and certainly good for early phases of strength development, but probably mostly for building muscle endurance, but still quite an effective training strategy for that. Okay, so we see Midoriya now with bigger tires, so this is good. This is touching on a training principle known as progressive overload, which means that as you train, your body gets used to a stimulus, and to keep giving it a reason to adapt and get stronger, fitter or faster, you need to overload the stimulus. You need to make it a bigger stimulus than last time, hence why he's using the bigger tires now. This is good. He's staying on top of his study, keeping the mind sharp. Okay, here we go. A man after my own heart. He's what looks like eating a hell of a lot here. We've got rice and a shitload of what looks like pasta. Now, the key to facilitating the recovery and the adaptations from this hard training is absolutely nutrition. If you don't have the nutrition piece as part of the puzzle, then you're not going to maximize the amount of progress that you can have. In fact, you're going to significantly reduce it. Alright, moving on to bench press and push-ups, a sort of more traditional style resistance training. Definitely both good movements for building upper body strength, so he's doing well here. Okay, he's eating more now, which is a good sign that his metabolic capacity is increasing and there's an increased demand for fuel. But eating more, it means he's giving the best chance possible to recover completely from all this hard training and to maximize his strength and muscle growth. Alright, so that's just showing that he's clearly getting tired from this protocol. The training is catching up with him, and he's probably near something called overreaching or overtraining. And this is why I'll tend to recommend my athletes to try to take naps during the day and to increase the hours of sleep at night, because they have an increased recovery demand compared to just the average person who's not training super hard. Alright, so we got some hand grips and bicep curls thrown in there with a hefty looking weight. Certainly good for building strength in the arms and forearms. Weighted walking of sorts. That was a badass scene, wasn't it? It was sort of like the annoying little shitty bitch of a Midoriya just finally grew up and stepped over the line with his Rocky type celebration there. But
おいおいおい、指定した区画以外までマジかよ。塵一つなくなってやがる。マジかよ。ギリギリで仕上げやがった。完成以上に。
オールマイト僕できた。これは
10ヶ月前の君さ、よく頑張ったよ。本当に。
this is good. I like it because it's fairly realistic. Like, it's not some crazy 4-week transformation that's just extremely unrealistic. Like, he's been kicking his ass for 10 months with hard training and it's like really good nutrition as well. So this is a realistic transformation. You can make crazy progressions with your physique and you can look jacked in 10 months if you're really willing to give it your everything day in and day out.
なんか鶴だな。僕は恵まれすぎてる。
So that was the training from Midoriya in My Hero Academia. Overall, I think it was pretty good and I give it an 8.5 rating out of 10. So now we move on to Saitama from One Punch Man. Now, this scene was absolutely hilarious. The build up into it was just phenomenal. So let's get into it.
お前も知りたいのか。まあいいだろう。心して聞け。
危険だ。こいつらにそんなことを教えていいのか。
まず大切なのはこのハードなトレーニングメニューを続けられるかどうかだ。
トレーニング、改造手術、遺伝子操作でもなく
続けることだ。どんなに辛くてもな。俺は3年でここまで強くなった。腕立て伏せ100回、上体起こし100回、スクワット100回、そしてランニング10キロ。これを毎日やる。
Alright, let's break this down. So 100 repetition sets are not ideal for building strength. To build strength, you want to be doing most of your lifting work in the 3 to 15 rep range. To perform 100 reps non-stop like Saitama means the weight or the load has to be very low, as is the case for bodyweight type training. Low load, high rep training it's really good for building muscle endurance, but it's really not good for building muscle strength or muscle size. Now, he also says he does a 10-kilometer run every day. These sort of runs are great for building aerobic conditioning and endurance, but considering Saitama is a fighter, he would benefit from doing shorter, more high-intensity efforts, like sprint intervals that would more closely replicate the efforts that he would have to do in combat.
もちろん1日3食きちんと食べろ。
Okay, 3 meals per day, probably cutting it a little bit short, because across 3 meals it's going to be quite unlikely that you're providing all of the essential nutrients and calories to facilitate the adaptations and to support the recovery processes. For most athletes, they're going to be wanting to consume at least 4 up to 6 meals per day.
朝はバナナでもいい。極めつけは。
And a banana in the morning for breakfast, probably not fine. In each meal, for 4 to 6 feedings across the day, you're probably going to be wanting a good serve of carbs, like banana, but also protein to maximize the performance and the recovery.
精神を鍛えるために夏も冬もエアコンを使わないことだ。
You sort of got a point here because discipline, it is a skill. It gets better the more you practice it. So perhaps sweating it out could be helpful for some mental conditioning here.
最初は死ぬほど辛い。一日くらい休もうかとつい考えてしまう。
Been there.
だが、俺は強いヒーローになるためにどんなに苦しくて地ヘドをぶちまけても毎日続けた。足が重く動かなくなってもスクワットをやり。
Okay, what is this squat technique? I have no words for that. Swinging the arms, not a good idea when you're squatting.
腕がプチプチと変な音を立てて腕立てを断行した。変化に気づいたのは1年半後だった。
That's fairly realistic. Like the consistent training needs to be done over months and years to really start seeing visual changes. A lot of people think it's these secret 6 to 8 week transformations, but it's just not realistic. It needs consistency over the long term. So a year and a half before Saitama starts seeing changes, it actually kind of makes sense. And if his training was a little bit better, he could have actually probably seen these changes a little bit sooner.
俺はハゲていた。そして強くなっていた。つまりハゲるくらい死に物狂いで己を鍛え込む。それが強く
Not necessarily evidence-based, that.
なる唯一の方法だ。新人類だの進化だのと遊んでいる貴様らでは決してここまでたどり着けん。自分で変われるのが人間の強さだ。
なんだと先生、あなたという人は。
ふざけないでください。
Such a good finish to that scene. Now, although it is hilarious, not super accurate or optimal, so we'll give this one a 6.5 out of 10. So next we have Asta from Black Clover. Asta, to be fair, he's one of my favorite characters in all of the anime. So much so that I got a tattoo of him on my back neck there. I just think his perspective on life, training and pushing yourself to your limit and then going beyond that, I think a lot of us should take away some of that and inject it into our own lives to truly get the best out of our own potential. So let's see how he trains. So we got some push-ups, running, all great for building aerobic conditioning and improving muscle endurance. So not too bad there. Now, although 3,000 hanging sit-ups is damn impressive, it's kind of quite silly. A lot of people think sit-ups create a six-pack, but it's not necessarily true. It can help develop the abdominal muscles so they stick out more, but at the end of the day, it's the low body fat that allows the abdominals or the six-pack to be visible, and this is only achieved with a calorie deficit.
Sister! あいつより先に魔法帝になるために
Interesting point. Did anyone else train with the motivation to win girls over when they started? I reckon that thought had probably crossed my mind back in the day, but it's funny, the more muscle you build, you sort of get less attention from girls and more attention from the men.
と、ここで久しぶりに魔力増強にいいと言われるモグラバの汁投入
So, Mag Relief Juice. Not really sure what it is and where Asta heard these claims from, but generally juice as a whole is high carbohydrate, high sugar. That's ideal for consuming around training to keep your training intensity maximized. Asta might not be doing a terrible thing here. It could actually be quite clever for his training, and a lot of my athletes, I will program them liquid carbohydrates to sip on before and during their workout to be able to keep their level of performance higher. Asta is jacked. He's shredded and jacked. Good physique.
僕の心の友のアスタ君が今日も一生懸命働いていた。雑巾
俺にはシスターリリーという心に決めた人が。
Asta is loyal.
だけお掃除。お洗濯。
It gives a bit of Goku vibes here. It's like when Chi-Chi gives Goku jobs to do, he sort of finds a way to turn it into training, sort of like what Asta's doing here.
猛獣のお世話。
恐れ。よーしよしよし、いい子いい子。ほれ、誰が心配だって？
バカスタ、あんたいつからいたのよ。
ノエルこそ何やってんだ？たった今特訓から帰ってきたところだ。
So, firstly, Noel, babe. Secondly, Asta looking superb in that last clip. Now, final comment. Asta's work ethic is unmatched. So perhaps he's not doing the most optimal training, and a lot of that like chores style training is really not that effective. But I think he just outworks everyone by so much that he is able to be just as strong as the others. And I think probably a lot of us can take a little bit of Asta away and apply it to our own training. Now overall, not too bad. I give it a 7 out of 10. Here we have Zoro from One Piece. Those rocks had no chance. Okay, so a lot of striking training, and by seeing him in the winter here, it, I guess, is showing that he's doing this sort of training year round, so he's consistent with it. And perhaps like even in the winter, doing it in the cold when everyone else is probably rugged up and resting, it's probably part of his discipline and mental conditioning as well. Some weighted running. Not bad for building strength and endurance in the legs.
体力をつけるんだ。刀をいっぱい持っても平気なように。2本でダメなら3本だって。
So this is some weird unilateral cable fly. I guess good for developing the chest and shoulders. But doing it both arms can be just as effective, if not more effective, because you're able to have more stability in the movement. And I'm just not sure what the dumbbell in the mouth is adding to this movement. Anime characters, they love their high rep sets, don't they? I'm actually not sure what this exercise is doing, because he's swinging it down, but it's not really actually requiring much muscle because the weight will just be falling with gravity. Of course, it's going to require some shoulders to pull it back up like this, but in terms of the striking motion, it's with gravity, so it's basically like just dropping the weight in essence. It's not, it looks badass, but probably not super effective. Okay, so this is the military press. Really good exercise for building shoulder strength, but sitting in a squat definitely isn't needed to do this exercise optimally. And it's only an isometric contraction in the quads because he's not actually squatting up as well. So I think that just added it in to look kind of more advanced and cool. Right, so we've got bicep curls with half reps. A little bit disappointing, Zoro, because you need to be training the bicep with a full range of motion to get the most out of it. Okay, so now we got more half rep curls. It looks like he's increased the weight and made his range of motion even shorter than it was before. This is shocking. More half reps. It actually doesn't even look like he's moving the bicep. He's sort of just doing this, which is just using the shoulder. Okay, you could hit the same muscle groups here by just pressing the weight up normally. Doesn't need to be on balancing the weight on his feet, but I think that again they're just, it's a Zoro thing. Make it look more cooler and badass, because he is a badass character. He probably doesn't want to do things just the normal way. Okay, so we've got jumping weighted squats. Not bad for building strength and specifically power. Build power, muscle power. You want to do things called plyometrics, which is basically a very high velocity contraction as fast as possible. Back with the sword chops that aren't really working any muscles that are helpful. Now, I think overall we give Zoro a rating of 8 out of 10 for his training here. So here we have what has to be the coolest anime training in history, in my opinion. Chills every time.
Gravity simulation. 300 times planet's normal gravity.
So 300 times gravity. Every muscle fiber, tendon and ligament would be under immense stress.
Initiate defense program level 5. Assuming defense formation.
Vegeta's mental resilience is just, it's god tier. He's built different.
Talk about your radical training program, huh?
Talk about your radical training program. Don't worry about it, young chap. This is, you're built different with Vegeta, my friend.
Initiate gravity simulation. 400 times planet's normal gravity. Warning.
Okay, so now we see him bumping it up to 400x gravity. He's adapting. This is again showing progressive overload. His body is used to the old stimulus, so it needs to be exposed to a new stimulus to keep getting growth. I love Vegeta. Okay, so now he's able to do one-arm push-ups on his fingers. Although this looks badass, not a great exercise. Fingers, not essential, plus it's a lot of front delt and tricep, and not much else really. Handstand push-ups. These are very popular, but they have a poor range of motion due to your head basically hitting the floor. So not a really great exercise for building the shoulders. You're better off doing a barbell or dumbbell military press.
Increasing gravity simulation.
So we see Vegeta now moving in 410x gravity like it's nothing. And it looks like his physique has clearly adapted. Everything is bigger, jacked, and shredded. While not the most scientifically accurate method of training. I just think this is the most badass training montage in all of anime. So I can't not give it a 9 out of 10. I don't get sick and tired of watching this training montage. So that is all for today's video, guys. I hope a bit of fun and maybe learn a couple little things here and there. But if you enjoyed these type of anime reaction videos, jump down in the comments and let me know. Also, feel free to throw out any suggestions for future reactions. See you guys in the next one.